see a lot of innovation coming from the open source community. We have very, very active developers who are passionate about what they're building and what they're doing, and we see a real meritocracy coming from the community, where the best and brightest are contributing their best and brightest ideas, and those are the features that are making it into the open source upstream product lines, and ultimately into the enterprise class solutions that organizations are able to adopt as a supported and enterprise capable platform. The other thing that we see is a real agility within the community. They're able to react quicker than a traditional proprietary vendor would be able to, and really adopt the ideals and the features that are going to provide innovative solutions for their customers. The community can react quickly to what makes sense to be contributed. And that means that as a customer, as an end user, I have the ability to influence the products that I'll be consuming. The features and the ideas that I have can ultimately be quickly adopted by the open source community based on the merit that they bring to the table. And also, I always have the ability to influence what the open source community is doing by contributing my own resources. So if I'm a developer, or I want to have some of my developers contribute bug fixes or patches or additional features to the open source community, I have that opportunity. And so with open source, we see really an exciting capability to influence more so than in any other avenue. What features and what functions, what products and what capabilities are going to be available to me as an end user and also to my customers. Above and beyond that, because of the nature of how open source is developed and the passion that people bring to the table, we see a very active community. And so what that means is that, as an adopter of open source software, there are forums and mailing lists and sites, and there's a lot of opportunities for interaction. And the people that are participating in the open source and advocating for it and making additions to the open source world are very passionate about being involved. And so as a customer or an end user, someone that uses open source, there's a lot of opportunities for me to go and ask questions and get in touch with the people that are really building it, not just the people that are involved with marketing or selling it, which are some of the disadvantages of some of the closed source software. And so it's a very active community. They're very passionate about what they do, and it really is an opportunity for me to be in direct contact with the people that are providing these features and providing these innovations. One of the benefits we obviously see is the passion and the innovation and the agility and the fast-moving pace of the community. They're very quick to identify the features or the patches that have merit or that need to be addressed. And they're very quick to introduce those into the upstream versions of the open source product offerings. So with that, I think comes some risk. As an enterprise class or as an enterprise, one of my primary concerns maybe is not having the latest and greatest patches at any given point, but it's more to ensure the stability of my system. And so there is some risk to working with the upstream versions that we have to recognize. Things that we specifically deal with is patch management and versioning. When patches are available and delivered through the open source community, it does require some expertise to be able to manage those and understand what needs to be adopted, what needs to be deployed, if there are versioning conflicts. So I think that some of the risks go hand in hand with the innovation in the fast-moving environment. Is also recognize that does bring a set of challenges to an organization who may factor or may prioritize stability over being cutting edge. Mitigations to those risks are obviously having a supported open source solution. And that means that having an organization like Red Hat that's available to provide that patch support and do all the heavy and complex work for you, so that I know when I get a patch from Red Hat or when I get a new feature, I know immediately that that's going to work in my environment. And they're offering me the capabilities that I need to be successful. The other risk that we see is really if we do have a problem, and I think we have to be realistic in understanding that with any system, with any product, with anything that we do, we are ultimately going to have some sort of a problem at some point in time. If I don't have that supported offering, who will I turn to in the middle of the night? Without that support system in place, when my system goes down, although the community is very active, I'm still relying on the community to address a problem that's going to be affecting my business. And so I think that one of the ways that we mitigate that is to have that support offering, to have somebody that we can go to 24/7. So in the middle of the night, if and when there is a problem, I can pick up the phone, rather than sending an email or a posting or participating in a forum and waiting for the community to get back to me on their timeline. That support really gives me the ability to have my question answered on my timeline. What we see is performance is often an overlooked aspect of a system or of a systems engineering activity. Everyone knows that they want good performance, but to actually officially work that into the design process in a formal fashion is something that we don't see all organizations doing. Customers are looking for more content, richer user interfaces to be deployed across the web, and they're expecting responsiveness that hasn't been seen before. So you have a richer user experience being delivered with increasingly faster performance. Several years ago, users were asked, what is your expectation of a web-based system? And they said, I would like to see my transactions or my requests being serviced in around 5 seconds. And today that number is 2. And so our performance requirements, or really our expectations from an end user, have significantly increased. And so that means that we really need to start to be proactive about performance. And that means designing performance upfront in the life cycle into your system and recognizing that it is not just a non-functional aspect. So what we'd like to suggest to our customers is that they start with a strict set of performance requirements. Understanding the scalability aspects, understanding the response times of their business, what will the users be doing, and what are the requirements for how fast they should be able to do it. From there, we like to recommend that they start their performance engineering, within their development activities. So as their developers are building the functionality, it's important to start capturing baselines of their system to understand what transactions exist, what is their performance, and as new functionality is being added or modified, how does that performance change? We also like to recommend that the architecture team look at performance up front and look at how their architectures respond and perform within the context of their requirements. So if you do have stringent SLAs or response times, you should start to characterize those up front, and RTI can really help with that. RTI provides the ability to measure application performance and response time without making any additions, making any coding changes, modifying your application. There's no access to the source code required. So that means that the development and the architecture teams can start to understand performance up front and understand if the architectures that they've chosen, or if they have inherited in the case of a legacy system, will ultimately meet their performance requirements. Obviously, once we go into the QA phase of a life cycle, we strongly recommend that our customers or organization adopt some sort of a formal performance testing cycle. So that means that we'd like to recommend that they generate load, which will be representative of what they're going to be seeing in production, and that they characterize the performance of that load. And similarly, if and when they run into performance problems as part of QA, they really need the tools to be able to diagnose those problems before they get into production. So one of the things that we've done with RTI is we've integrated it with several of the leading test automation tools, LoadRunner, JMeter, and SoapUI. And so what that means is that as users are driving or generating their automated transactions or generating their load, if and when they have poor performing transactions, they can use RTI to drill into those across the enterprise down to the method level, and not only understand through a tool like LoadRunner how is my performance against the load that I'm generating, but if it's poor, they can use RTI to specifically diagnose the bottleneck and identify root cause failure before it gets to production. Ultimately, once the application is deployed to production, we really feel that some level of performance monitoring should be a requirement across any organization. We see traditional monitoring along the lines of CPU utilization or network utilization or disk. I think that is some sort of a proxy for what is taking place in my system. But at the end of the day, knowing that your CPU is at 50% or 75% doesn't really accurately tell you how your business is performing. And so what we've done with RTI is we've integrated it with JBoss Operations Network to really expand the capabilities that the JBoss Operations Network has to manage application performance. Where JBoss Operations Network provides the ability to do EJB level performance monitoring or some hibernate statistics, RTI focuses on providing business transaction performance monitoring and the ability to pinpoint problems in production under full load down to the method level. Our integration with JBoss Operations Network represents a real value to the government customer. JBoss Operations Network provides us so many of the management capabilities that we didn't have to develop for ourselves. It really allowed us to focus on what we do best, which is the deep performance management and performance diagnostics. So when we were developing RTI, we don't have to worry about things like data transfer or data persistence or a framework for accessing data and presenting it to the user in a web interface. All of those aspects of a performance management tool are provided for us from the JBoss Operations Network product. And so what that means to the customer, to the government customer or to the commercial customer, is that they're really getting the best value. They're getting that mission critical aspect of a performance management tool, that business transaction monitoring. We do lightweight transaction profiling with only 2% overhead, so you get performance management in production. And then ultimately you get the ability to do transaction level decomposition. If you have a specific business process or business transaction like a checkout or like a sign-in, you can decompose that and drill down to the method level to understand why that transaction is failing. And we've really been able to put all of our focus from an engineering perspective on building those capabilities and then leveraging the platform of JBoss Operations Network, which means that RTI is available to the customer as a value solution. They're really getting the best value. What some organizations specifically have done is leverage the full aspect of the RTI product to do true end-to-end enterprise-wide monitoring. So what we have seen, one of our biggest success stories is an organization took the RTI end user plugin and they deployed it across all of their sites. And so we have monitoring of the end users, what they're doing, what they're experiencing, and then also the ability to decompose that across the WAN into the data center to be able to follow this transaction through reverse proxies, through the web servers, into the application tier, and ultimately, if and when there's a problem, diagnose those transactions at a method level. And so what we've been able to do is offer organizations the ability to have performance monitoring of their enterprise in production 24/7 to understand how their business is doing, what users are doing, what they're experiencing, and if and when there is a problem, where is that problem. We see open source as a tremendous advantage to a software vendor like ourselves. We're really able to concentrate on the mission critical aspects of our product, and we get to deliver the capabilities and functions that we're truly experts in, which is in the performance management and diagnostic space. So what we've been able to do is integrate our product into an open source platform like JBoss Operations Network. JBoss and JBoss Operations Network offers those open APIs that allows us as a software vendor to really extend their base capabilities and to offer those advanced level capabilities, as a value offering to our customer. And so we really look to kind of enhance the open source community by contributing technology that we think that they will fully benefit from having. First, you want to truly consider what your goals are as an organization. And one of the first questions I would ask myself is, why can't open source deliver? We see a truly vibrant community who is passionate about the products that they're building, the features that they're providing, and they're providing it in a capability that's really suited for enterprise organizations. Open source is not something that's being developed in a basement. It's enterprise class software, and I would really consider, when you're evaluating technology and when you're evaluating the needs of your business, why shouldn't I be using open source? I think we've seen through many studies and through examples, the cost factors, but we also really see that the innovations coming from the community, the agility to which they're able to consider the features and to offer those features to the end users, I think is probably unparalleled. And with the contributions made by companies to the open source offerings, I think you're really getting not only the best product for the dollar, but in most cases, or in many cases, the best product, period.